Welcome to Phrasal Verb Practice. This is the place to learn real English, one phrasal verb at a time. My name is Marissa, and I'll walk you through this learning journey. Hi all, wishing you a great day. We're going to explore and work on the phrasal verb get back. This is a very common phrasal verb in English, and you'll hear it in many everyday conversations. Basically, when we say get back, we're usually talking about returning to something. It might be returning to a place, getting something again, replying to someone, continuing an activity, or sometimes reacting to someone. So the general idea behind the phrasal verb get back is returning or responding in some way. Let's start with the first way we use get back. Sometimes, get back simply means to return to a place. When someone gets back, they go back to where they were before. For example, we got back home late last night. She got back to the office after lunch. What time did you get back from your trip? So here the idea is simple. You leave somewhere, and later you get back. Now let's look at another meaning. We also use get back when we talk about receiving something again, especially something we lost or something we lent to someone. For example, I finally got back my book. She got back the money she lent him. Did you get back your keys? So in this case, the idea is recovering something you didn't have for a while. Now another very common expression is get back to. When we say we will get back to someone, it means we will respond or contact them later. For example, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Let me check the details and get back to you. Our manager will get back to us later today. So when someone says this, they usually mean they will answer after checking something or after finishing another task. We also use get back to when we talk about returning to an activity or topic. For example, let's get back to work. We should get back to the meeting. After lunch, we got back to the project. So the idea here is continuing something after a pause. Now there's another related expression you might hear, and that's get back at. When someone says they want to get back at someone, it means they want to take revenge because that person did something unfair or hurtful. For example, he tried to get back at his coworker after the argument. She ignored him to get back at him. He spread a rumor to get back at his boss. So here the idea is reacting to someone because they did something negative. Now let's quickly look at how the idea of get back appears in other languages. In Spanish, people often say things like volver, recuperar, responder después, or even vengarse. In French, you might hear revenir, récupérer, répondre plus tard, or se venger. In Portuguese, people often say voltar, recuperar, responder depois, or vingar-se. In Italian, the expressions might be tornare, recuperare, rispondere dopo, or vendicarsi. In German, you may hear zurückkommen, zurückbekommen, sich melden, or sich rächen. In Japanese, the idea is often expressed with words like boderu, tori, motsu, atode rennaku suru. And in Chinese, huailai, tuhuai, shaohou huifu. Now let's talk about when people usually use the phrasal verb get back. People use get back when they talk about returning to a place. They also use get back when they recover something they lost or lent to someone. We often hear get back to when someone promises to reply later. And we also use get back to when we continue a task or conversation after stopping. Finally, people use get back at when they want to take revenge on someone. Now let's look at a few example sentences using the phrasal verb get back. I got back home very late last night. She got back her lost wallet. I'll get back to you after the meeting. Let's get back to the discussion. He wants to get back at his coworker. Now let's talk a little about the grammar of get back. The phrasal verb get back can sometimes be separable and sometimes inseparable, depending on how it's used. When it means recovering something, it can be separable. Get back plus object. For example, I got back my phone, or I got my phone back. Both are correct. When we use a pronoun, it usually goes in the middle. For example, I got it back. Now, when we use get back to, the structure becomes inseparable. Structure: get back to plus person, activity, or topic. For example, I'll get back to you later. Let's get back to work. And when we use get back at, it is also inseparable. For example, he wants to get back at his colleague. She tried to get back at him. So the most common patterns you'll hear are get back to plus person, activity, or topic, get back at plus person. Now let's practice using the phrasal verb get back in context. First, we'll read a short text from everyday life where people use get back in normal daily situations. Then we'll read another short text in a professional or workplace situation where the phrasal verb get back appears. Are you ready? Let's start. Last weekend, my family went to visit my aunt who lives a few hours away. We left early in the morning, and my dad said he hoped we would get back home before it got too late. The drive was fun, but by the end of the day, everyone was a little tired and ready to get back to our normal routine. When we finally got back home that evening, the house felt quiet and comfortable. My mom immediately started unpacking, while my dad said he needed a few minutes before he could get back to putting things away. I sat on the couch and checked my phone because I had missed a few messages during the trip. One message was from my friend Alex. He had asked me something earlier in the day, but I hadn't answered yet. I sent him a quick reply and told him I would get back to him later with more details. Sometimes it takes a little time to think before you can get back to someone with a good answer. While we were talking in the kitchen, my younger brother suddenly remembered something. A few weeks earlier, he had lent his favorite headphones to a friend, and he still hadn't got back them. He said he hoped he would finally get back his headphones at school the next day. Then my sister started teasing him about it. She laughed and said maybe his friend was trying to get back at him because he once borrowed a video game and returned it late. My brother rolled his eyes and said nobody was trying to get back at anyone. He just wanted to get back his headphones. Later that night, my dad said it felt good to get back home after a long day. He also said tomorrow we all needed to get back to our usual schedule. And honestly, after a busy weekend, everyone was ready to get back to normal life. Great, that was the first text. How many times did you hear the phrasal verb of the day? Now, let's move on to the second text. Monday morning started a little earlier than usual because our team had an important meeting with a client. I had just got back to the office after a short business trip the week before, so I was still catching up on emails. When I got back to my desk, I saw several messages waiting for me. One of them was from our manager asking for an update on a project. I replied quickly and told him I would get back to him later that morning with the full report. Around 10 o'clock, we had our team meeting. During the discussion, one of my coworkers asked a question about the budget numbers. Our manager said he needed to review a few documents and would get back to us later in the day with the correct information. After the meeting, I worked on the presentation slides. A colleague from another department stopped by my desk and asked about a detail in the report. I told her I needed to double-check something and that I would get back to her in the afternoon. Later that day, something interesting happened. One of our teammates discovered that a small mistake had been made in an earlier version of the document. Luckily, we caught it before sending the file to the client. Someone joked that if we hadn't noticed, the person who made the mistake might have tried to get back at the situation by blaming the software. Of course, nobody in our team really tries to get back at anyone. We usually just focus on fixing problems and moving forward. By the end of the day, I finally got back the missing data I needed from another department. Once I had that information, I was able to finish the report and get back to my manager with the final numbers. When I finally got back home that evening, I felt relieved. It had been a long day, but it felt good to get back into the rhythm of work after being away for a few days. Great, that was the second text, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for following this channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye!